hear from the community, to share ideas and thoughts and get your reactions to that. As we have journeyed through this recent announcement, the new campus, the new campus, there are a lot of facets to the planning cycle, the existing location, the financing, the strategy, all that. Well, this is an important element, and that is gauging the potential and the opportunity for philanthropy to be a part of this project. And so today our goal is to hear from you. There'll be candor in the room in terms of how this should be approached, your thoughts on that. And then actually toward the end, we go through a list of individuals in our community that talk through the potential and the interest level that might exist there. So that's our goal today. You might have already met Betsy. She's here to carry the conversation. So Betsy from Corn Philanthropy.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. So thank you to the brave souls who are back for session 2 back to back. Welcome to the new souls who don't know what you've just gotten into. So we're going to spend the next couple of hours really having conversations around the opportunity that is in front of us. I have just a few things to share to kind of level set where we're going, but then really the bulk of the session is hearing from you. We're working on a very iterative design process to be able to better articulate how people could be involved in this effort, where there's a place for investment in the organization. So as we jump in, as you know, Baptist has put on the table a very exciting vision. When you talk about building a new hospital on a green field, when you talk about bringing something out of the ground that you know that's going to transform not only that space in your community, but your community as a whole, it's a really exciting time to bring people together. And so with that exciting vision that you have, we want to look at where is there opportunity for community to invest, to be part of that through philanthropy. When we think about engaging philanthropists, we know that philanthropists have very high expectations for us. We find that donors no longer tend to give altruistically. They no longer tend to give just because they think Baptist is nice or because you're a valuable community organization. They say they want more from their participation in what they're doing. So first, they want to make sure that this is something that is deeply aligned with their values, with their purpose, with the impact they want to make on your community, with the legacy they want to leave, that it's not, frankly, so much about Baptists as it is about their own desire for impact on the world. So we need to be very thoughtful about what they want to get out of this and how they want to engage in an other-centered way with their community. We know they also, though, are change agents, social impact investors. They don't want to just give you money and wish you well and hope you did the right thing. They want you to come back and they want you to demonstrate that you provided real solutions. They want you to be able to articulate how you measured them, how you knew you were successful. And so going into a project really talking about how will the world be different? How is this more than a building? How is this something that people truly want to be part of? So those are often kind of the dual things that we're considering. The whole importance of purpose and values, as well as the requirement that we really are able to demonstrate the efficacy of the programs that we've put forward. So as we go into that, we also know donors like big ideas. They're not as drawn to incremental change. They want you to do something that is bold, that is significant. We find that when we go to donors and say, you know, we have a little basket here of a bunch of small items that you could be a part of, they say, oh, why didn't you do that yourself? Why do you need me? And so going out with a $550 million, Scott? You know, $550 million. It will probably be one of the biggest investments in this community in your lifetime. It will be one of the most transformational things that will happen in this community over most people's lifetime. You're asking them to be part of that. It's something they could never do on their own. So the ability to affiliate with you and work with you and through you, it's powerful in terms of building constituency. So you have big ideas, but part of the challenge of big ideas is that often they've got a lot of pieces and moving parts. And so part of what we've got to do is reconcile what that message to the community is going to be. Specifically, what parts of that project will be presented to the community? How will we position them? How will we demonstrate what we want to do? So we're engaging you today as part of an iterative building process. I always say this is about co-creation, that on one hand, everything emanates from the vision that Mark and his executive leadership team and your governing board and others around the Baptist Healthcare table have been putting together based on the needs of this community, the way healthcare is moving, the opportunities in terms of technological innovation and the way practice is changing. They've brought the best and the brightest to the table to figure out what your strategy and plan should be. However, often we need the assistance of community leaders to interpret that vision to the community, to let them know how it's relevant to them, to let them know how they can connect in. And so we find that going through an iterative process with various stakeholders with different perspectives helps us just craft a better story and a better message to go out to the community. So today, for those of you who've already been with me for a couple of hours, I'm going to relinquish the talking to you in this section, that I want to hear from you on your perceptions and your thoughts for the case that is before you. So the case statement that is before you was crafted after going through a process to really say, what is our strategy? What would donors care about? What meets the thresholds of business diligence? What do we know is important to put forward to our community? And so this statement, while it's not long, it aims to articulate those key pillars of the campaign that we would ask the community to invest in. So just to open up, have any of you guys had an opportunity to read it, and do you have initial reactions on the case? Or do any of you want a couple of minutes to reread it very quickly? Would that be helpful? Yes. Okay, let's take 5 minutes and let's just take a quick review so we're all on the same page. All right, it looks like most of y'all are done. I should say this should have draft stamped in red all over it. It is a first articulation of the case. I would imagine you will go through 5 or 6 rounds before the case is done. This is part of that vetting and pressure testing and feedback loop today. So I want you to frankly feel free license to throw rocks. That's one thing that I often like to share in these sessions, that I know that we all are excited about the vision, and I know we all support Baptist and we want this to go really well, but make your form of fidelity in this room today calling out the failure points, talking about the things that don't resonate, throwing rocks where needed, because we would far rather have this trusted group of insiders say, I don't get it. It doesn't resonate. This seems silly to me. We'd far rather hear it from you than take it outside to a broader constituency and have it fail to resonate. So please feel free in this room to be very blunt today and know that that is being loyal today. So initial reactions, anything you want to share?
Well, Betsy, the first part of the statement on the front of the page, actually, it's something that I really like to read when it says it's about people. And actually, there's a section a little further into the draft that I would say maybe it's about people, putting people first, because that shows up later on in the draft. That part gets my attention.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Other thoughts? Yes?
The centers of influence, it seems to be centers of excellence. We have other things. It's part of a big population.
So are you wanting somewhere, so on one hand, the case would talk about the specific areas for investment now, but do you think there needs to be something somewhere that acknowledges all of the things that the system does, just to talk who you are as a system? Okay.
To your point about those critical service lines, that's
Yes.
surgery, oncology, cardiology, orthopedics, among others.
When we talk about centers of excellence, I want us to be excellent in everything. And so I know that people want to contribute to like cardiology or oncology, those kinds of things. But again, we're more than that. Is there a way to integrate, for instance, women's health? Or in fact, we're a charity hospital. If I looked at, yes, like Travis said, I looked at the data, what are our patients coming to the hospital to have done? Can we look at that somehow? And is there some way we can craft where someone might be forced by the fact they want to help the least? Is there a way to integrate that? Look at St. Joseph, the babies are free medical care. We get free medical care all the time. Can we reach people by talking about that? I don't see as much charity in here as I think we actually do. But again, that's what Travis said. What does the data show? Yeah, but I'm just saying, there are people who may not have had anybody in those, and is there a way to possibly capture that?
Betsy, you started off with the word big, 2 words, big vision. And I think the community is ready. We had a meeting this morning, a few of us. The community is ready. I mean, when you look at this rendering, you say big. Where am I? I'm well, now. Am I in Los Angeles? Am I in Atlanta? Am I in New Mexico? Am I in Dallas? I mean, that's a big vision. Spending $600 million is big. I mean, so if you think about it, there's 1.5 million people west of Tallahassee. We are the largest city in Northwest Florida. Unfortunately, healthcare is going to touch all of us some way, some fashion, and why not allow them to be a part of a city that's the driver financially, legally, culturally, education, military, healthcare-wise. Many people in the military went through flight school, officer candidate school. Are we going to touch those people? Maybe they want to retire here, and maybe they want to be a part of giving to Baptist. I think what Donnie said, think big. We do more than just those things that we read in there. All of us have to go to a cardiologist, but I think some of our brands that we have, people are looking to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They're looking to be led. And our community now has high expectations to do big things. So I would just be big and align ourselves with more. If you think of policy issues, you think of, hey, there's global warming, education, research. Those are policy issues that we see on the news. We hear our politicians talking about them, our educators. Maybe we can align with some other universities, or I'm just thinking big where it be financially a win for us, and we start doing some of those things. Maybe one big donor wants to do something. If we did a partnership with X, and here was X. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
This move is going to free up opportunities to expand mental health care as well. And that's not really mentioned here, but it was really emphasized yesterday at Rotary when Secretary Troy's hospital folks were presenting the new hospital. And someone asked a mental health question. And they say, oh, we're very pleased we're able to partner with Baptist Healthcare to provide those services. So, I think the more we can talk about that, and more. Yeah.
That's all.
They're very complimentary.
Yeah, how about that?
And that's a policy issue. I mean, we're here on the news every night now.
That's not going away either.
No. So, while I know there may be some dangers in getting too far out there with some of these things where people may want to designate money that would otherwise go to the hospital to mental health or something like that, it's another hook that is, and we're the only provider.
I think that, we've all probably been in touch with someone in our family that suffers from mental health issues. And it's far more in vogue to talk about today. And people aren't scared to talk about a family member that's going through X. Ron's right. Maybe someone wants to vote up.
I was at that presentation this morning. I had to leave early. It was almost scary to me to think in 10 years Florida was going to gain 5 million plus people. Our MSA was tens of thousands of people with tens of thousands of jobs that are needed to fill those coffers. I think the emphasis of this, we're building into that future. And those new people that are going to use it. I don't know how they know.
Thank you.
More people moving to Florida than the United States have. So, putting that into
The population bubble, yes.
as soon as that changes.
That's another game within itself. I was talking about that, so if you have potentially use in Northwest Florida. And oh, by the way, we are the premier healthcare provider, and oh, by the way, we are building a $500,000 hospital, 600,000 square feet, 200 bed property. And by the way, we have incredible health, mental health capacity, blah, blah, blah. That's a big campaign. People are going to move to the next thing.
Yes.
So my thought was, why do you need the $15 to $20 million? By my rough calculations, it's what, 2%, 2.5% of the total cost of the project? What is the money going to be used for? That to me didn't come out. It basically, you
Okay.
get one sort of line there that says, oh yeah, we're hoping to pay for 2% of this through private philanthropy. So what exactly, what make the case for why you need the money? Why you need the money? Obviously, other than a big $550 million is a lot of money, but if you're raising 430, 520 of it, do you really need this extra 15 to 20 million? What is this 15 to 20 million private philanthropy that you're asking people to open up their wallets for? In the scope of a humongous $550 to $600 million. I think that case needs to be made, in my
Yes.
opinion,
Yes.
more specifically to say this is what the private philanthropic dollars are used for, rather than just going
Okay.
with the rest of the pot.
So that's hard sometimes, that people take different approaches to that. One, you still give the whole big $550 million bucket and say, this is why this gap needs to be filled by philanthropy. Sometimes people narrow up the case even more and say, it's not a $550 million project, we're looking at a $25 million project within the $550 million project that would be wholly funded by philanthropy. What are you looking for? Are you looking for more specificity around kind of the narrow lanes that philanthropy will fund, or would you rather have the big one?
In my opinion, this doesn't get either one of them.
Okay, okay,
This doesn't say that we're short $15 to $20 million. It kind of says we sort of hope that we're going to get $15 to $20 million, but it's not like it's critical for the success of this program. Or alternatively, it's not saying we've got this project, but boy, we would really be able to take this to the next level with this extra $15 to $20 million.
okay.
And I think you talked about the predicate earlier, that the predicate is people being excited and wanting to be a part of it. So that's the foundation, and then build on that. Why you, yes, you want to be, and this is why you need to be. I think that's where you're going.
Excellent.
Where did you come up with the number?
It's a
Because,
test.
You've got to start somewhere to test. And so, just realistically, frankly, looking at capacity community, past giving to the organization, that's a logical place to start to test.
so let me ask you a question, if you really think it big.
Yeah?
We have this affiliation with Mayo Clinic,
Uh-huh.
which is a big name brand. And should we put our ask out further than just this community? What are the sources out there match the money with the national?
There is rarely national money that comes into local campaigns. Let me give you the exception. Mayo is a different model in that they're often destination healthcare. So it may be that you traveled from Atlanta to go to Mayo, and so they'll end up having a broader reach. But with regionally based health systems, almost always the gifts are from your primary and secondary service area. Unless someone traveled here from elsewhere to have care in your facility, it is highly unlikely they will give here. And that's just national.
And I'd also add, we haven't really honed in on a number, that's just here for our purposes of discussion, but we're still determining whether or not we will do the actual capital campaign, and when we decide that, what the number is, and we would ask all of you to keep all of this confidential because of the importance of us being able to do a lot of the work behind the scenes before we ever go out with any numbers or anything.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that, Jen. So, truly at the end of the day, it will be you don't have a campaign at all, or it could be you have a $10 million campaign, or you have a $100 million campaign. That it really will come from these iterative conversations, from also doing due diligence around looking at where people have interest in giving, what their capacity might be. So this literally, we're going out thinking $20 million. It could be 10, it could be 100, it could be none. But we're really in that due diligence process. Listening tour. Yes?
Share the margin, the dollar, like the dollar raised. I don't know that everybody heard that before.
Sure. Yeah, 62 to 1. So it takes the hospital earning $62 million in patient revenue to put $1 million on the bottom line for reinvestment, whereas you need to raise $1.33 million to put the same $1 million on the bottom line for reinvestment. Philanthropy is one of the most leveraged alternative revenue resources in healthcare. It's also, frankly, amongst the alternative revenue resources, it's one of the least risky. It's one of the most conservative, most traditional. So there are alternative revenue resources that other health systems are pursuing by getting into insurance projects or getting into research or doing other things. But when we look at traditional, conservative, low-risk alternative revenue resources, philanthropy hands down wins every time.
And Betsy, could you also share just really briefly what the intended use of the campaign, the case is that we're talking about today?
Sure, absolutely. So there's got to be something that enunciates what do we want to do. And you have sometimes saying I'm going to build a hospital is too big a box. That people want specificity around what is going to go in that box. So on one hand, the case is not intended to share everything you do. Everything you are, everything you aspire to be. It is intended to provide people context around where they would invest now in this particular campaign. What are the most urgent and compelling and strategic needs of the organization that would require investment? So on one hand, it's not always everything you do. It's often these are the areas that we see for targeted strategic investment at this time. And even with campaigns, one of the things we talked about in the earlier section is there's often a campaign for today and there's a campaign for tomorrow. So one of the conversations that's come up multiple times is your ongoing commitment to East Street. It may be that there's a campaign for a Greenfield hospital today and there's a campaign for East Street tomorrow. To just figure out how philanthropy will follow strategy instead of philanthropy driving strategy. And that's a tough balance sometimes to keep, but we're trying to really have great loyalty to what the strategy is and to share that with the community. So let's dive into some more questions since we've got some initial thoughts. So we're going to explore along a few dimensions today. We call these vocal sessions because we want to talk a little bit about vision, opportunity, case, alignment, and leadership. Within those, I have a variety of questions coming at different dimensions where I want to explore your thoughts. So when you do look at this case for support that is in your hand, was there anything that you said, that would be amazing, that's inspiring, that would be transformational, I could really get behind that? What was inspiring about this case?
Something that resonates with me that might tie into what Ashton was saying earlier is the only remaining community-owned nonprofit and making this investment for generations to come because we get to control decision-making because of who we are and how we're governed, which positions us very uniquely in this market. And so there is, and I think that is what can also tie into the overall, being a part of the overall growth of this region as well, beyond just the healthcare that will be provided in a much more seamless, modern way at the new facility.
Excellent.
I think you could frame the narrative that, hey, what's inspiring to me is like, listen, Baptists is willing to take the risk to invest in our community in Pensacola and how we're going to grow, be a major player in Florida, which is the third largest state in the United States, and that's a big deal. I mean, we're trying to create a really great place for everybody. I mean, I was talking this morning, 21 million people, 5 million people moving in here. This is going to be a place where people want to live, work, and play. I mean, that's a huge investment. That's inspiring. That someone can invest $500 million to what you said, probably the biggest investment we'll see.
I think that's good. All these comments are good if you were in economic development, but if you're Joe Schmo on the street and you're hurting, and you're going to this facility, which strikes me more as patient experience, and the seamlessness, the guidance, insurance is a real pain in the rear end, the lack thereof, you thought you had, but to have, if you emphasize in this, the patient experience, because that's gonna be, all of us feel that. I mean, I'm big in economic development, don't get me wrong, but we all want to be able to in this facility, and this they extend my head, my side, we've got to feel for the loved ones we've got to feel. So I think there's two things going on there, there's two different audiences.
And
I think that patient experience part goes back to our legacy. When our founders established this many years, we're standing on their shoulders now, and we owe it to their memory to continue this into the future, and we owe our children and our grandchildren, a much better facility than we've got currently. So how are we carrying this legacy on into the future so that we can sustain?
I don't know if I misunderstood Kim, that's here or not, but I think to Margaret's point, I mean, that's right on the button. I was thinking two different things, but I think, patient experience is number one. I mean, and obviously, I think what's, the trend now is the white glove service, and that we do all of it. To your point, Margaret, we have a part of our community, socioeconomically challenged, and we want to make sure they're a part of what's happened here since 1968. I totally agree with all that. I was using a different narrative, but that's critical to how you close people to get into your hospital.
Excellent.
So when I think about the investment and the facility in and of itself as it applies to being a trusted partner, there's the legacy of 68 years of being one, and the new footprint and structure that says there's 68 more and then some in this, just from a crossing of the threshold. When I hear patient experience, I think about the building, if you will, being a place that can be trusted. I think about the outcomes that occur from within it that can be trusted, and then the experience from crossing the threshold to the achieved outcome, which candidly could be curing cancer or holding someone's hand while they move on. And how that might or might not be articulated in an effective way as a part of this is probably an enhanced version of articulating the reimagined patient experience as Cindy Gamache might have put in her little narrative there that she wrote on the periphery.
Excellent. So you've got a lot of pieces and parts in here. Several of you guys noted that there are different centers of excellence within there. And so figure that even within any campaign, we often in planning will vet multiple priorities, and not all of them will necessarily go forward. That it may be that we present, 5 or 6 things, and the community says, truly our heart is with 2 or 3. It may be that they embrace all 6, but you have kind of a smorgasbord of opportunities now within this list. So when you think about, I was trying to find my document to share with y'all. When you think about the campaign priorities that are on, I think the 3rd page, really 3rd and 4th pages, that you've got reimagined patient experience, and then you get into the service lines, talking about cardiac, stroke, emergency oncology on the last page. What stands out? Is there anything that you thought, wow, like of all the things in this case, that's the most meaningful to me, or that should go first, or that you should go more deeply on?
Well, and from the previous discussion, I think we highlighted that we felt like at a minimum neuro and ortho were missing, and that we would also look at women's health, geriatrics, and a few other potentially to add to the list. Even though we're not supposed to cover everything. There might be affinity there.
Anything pop up to the list? You say, wow, stroke center, we really, really need a stroke center. Cardiac, we really need that. Oh, the ER. Anything pop up to the list?
I'm having to separate my brain from like what our strategy is as an organization, and when we're making investment and what is compelling to the community. And to me, the one oncology is just something that seems to inspire, and everyone is touched by it in some way, and that is, that's a huge emotional pull. I know that we have other more strategic efforts in orthopedics and heart, but that's one that really, I think, people rally behind and support.
I think that's an excellent point. We need to make sure we marry up strategy with opportunity, and not the opportunity to drive the strategy. We can put up different examples of statements. But I'm not sure, today I'm saying that certainly, but how much we're going to invest in that. Maybe we don't now, maybe we don't. So just to be mindful of that, what's appealing and what actually fits where our plans are.
The thing about the cardiac center is that we're an aging society, and but to me, that's an issue that, heck, we've got kids playing football in high school and have fucking heart attacks, so to me, cardiac can cover a vast age range in a lot of respects. It's not just an elderly issue. It's an issue no matter what age you are.
The other thing that stood out to me on cardiac is we are in rare air in our cardiac services. And we need to, I think, really emphasize that here, that kind of singles us out as why people would want to partner with us on that investment because of the distinctions we already have today.
Well, I was kind of gonna go there. So how is this, we already have good cardiac care, good oncology care. You see the word center. What exactly are you talking about?
Okay.
How is it gonna be different, and how is it gonna be a lot better than it is now?
I think the next is if you come in with a heart attack, or you're bringing somebody in with a heart attack, this is a facility that's gonna have what you need to be treated. If you've got cancer, you can walk out the door, get your treatment and go through. I think along those lines, in really any place that done more, and thinking about, okay, what am I looking for?
Right.
You know somebody or have people in the family that have had cancer, or that have had cardiovascular problems. I'm thinking of it that way maybe, and that's what because we're already excellent. That's what centers of excellence, we are, as you said, we already have it. But what is this new facility going to do? Patient experience. You're gonna walk through the door, we're gonna walk with you. And we're gonna have this kind of facility for you. We're gonna take what we have that's already excellent and make it more accessible, and better for you to navigate, something like that.
I would just say lead with that. Lead with what's different and better.
Yeah.
So, two things that I think of, when I hear people say, pretty much every week, we just sent my mom to MD Anderson, or we just went to Mayo, they couldn't do it here, we went down to Shands, they could cure this lung thing, or they're more experienced. So, a lot of it is targeting the doctors that can cure that particular ailment, and now it seems like the doctors don't work for the hospitals, they work for a group, and the hospital contracts with the group. And I don't know about this, I'm just speculating, I don't know how it works, but I know that some people will say, we gotta go to Sacred Heart because so-and-so is the oncologist there that I've heard is awesome, or whatever. And so, that association, gets very confusing. And then when you're in an emergency situation, you're gonna go where, if I trust Margaret, her dad just went through it, I'm gonna go, I don't care where it is, wherever the guy is that helped her dad. And he might not be in Pensacola, but having affiliation with Mayo helps, of course. But some people forget that, and some people just go where the doctor is, it doesn't matter which hospital it is, you know what I'm saying? And so I don't know if there's a way you can emphasize the quality of care through highlighting physicians. I don't know,
Well, I know where you're going, it's a continuity here. I've got a friend that she's doing, she's elderly, she's got breast cancer, that's reemerged. Well, she goes to the doctor at Sacred, she goes to Baptist, she goes all over the place.
yeah.
And I see it like in Woodland, you see the same thing there. And I think, Jen, you said to me the other day when you watched me schedule it, I can't come on Tuesdays and Thursdays because those are the days I'm at West Florida and Sacred with doctors.
Right.
And it's the patient experience. Walk through the door and you're gonna say, I don't need to go
Yeah,
anywhere else.
because that's why Woodlands, I think, has done well with their
Yeah.
concept of one-stop shopping.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got one guy, Dr. Mark Ryan, who's going on out on a Crater Road or something, but all their stuff will be done at Woodlands. And I like that one-stop